but He's right here with us. All we have to do is simply call, ask Him to forgive us for our sin, all our
We need our Spirit-filled preachers to teach us right from wrong. We need our old-fashioned seekers who pray all night long. We need some good gospel singing to help us go another mile. The church will triumph, oh Lord, and go home in a little while. It'll be worth it after all, child. It'll be worth it after all. After all of these trials, we'll hear Jesus call. It'll be worth it after all, child. It'll be worth it after all. After all of this climbing, it'll be worth it after all. When you're down in your valley, prayer is all I can do. Then the Lord sends deliverance and strengthens you. Then when you're upon your mountain and you see me struggling along, lift my name up to Jesus. Let's help each other make it home.
Built by man, then at the perfect time, God said to Israel, I will now provide the
WIGN 1550 AM, America's most listened to bluegrass gospel AM station, playing the best in bluegrass gospel music and good preaching worldwide. 1550ambluegrass.com.
Looking for a city where we'll never die. There the sainted millions will never say goodbye.
land of danger, going here and there, simply trusting the blessed Savior's love. Though we may be strangers, living in a world of care, looking for that city built above. Sing it, John!
Looking for a city where we'll never die. There the saved millions will never say goodbye. Where we'll meet our Savior and our loved ones too. Come, oh Holy Spirit, all our hopes renew.
One more time!
Looking for the city
Look for that city,
where we'll never die.
we'll never die.
Where the sainted
Oh,
millions
sing it, million!
will never say goodbye. Where we'll meet our Savior and our loved ones too. Come, oh Holy Spirit, all our hopes renew. All our hopes renew. All our hopes renew.
Well, it's a big old Saturday morning to you. Hey, man.
Good sun shining.
That's right. And
it's
we're glad.
wonderful. Go ahead. Sorry, brother.
That's all right. That's
There
all
you
right.
go. I can hear now.
That's right. We're glad to be here with you this morning on the Brother Bobby and Brother Mike's radio program. All this has been made possible by the fine folks at Harold's Ditch Witch Service in Abingdon, Virginia. We appreciate Brother Harold and all the gang. I tell you what, been sponsoring the program now for a long, long time, and we do appreciate Harold's Ditch Witch Service. They can do just about anything with that ditch witch, and hey, they're Christian-owned and operated, friendly down-home service, and you want to give them a call at 276-492-6407. That's 276-492-6407, and it's going to be a blessing here this morning, and a lot of great things is going to be talked about here this morning. And I just want you to know the young man that everybody's been calling me about is in the studio here with us this morning, Mike Osborne. Of course, him and his wife Sue owns the gospel bookstore, but Mike Osborne's got some interesting things taking place in his life. We'll be getting into that here just in a few moments. As far as announcements is concerned, don't forget about the Little White Church up there beside the road in Saltville, Virginia, where we're the pastor at. We will be having a big revival coming up June the 6th through the 8th. That's a three-night revival with Steve Warren out of Cookeville, Tennessee. So we ask you just to remember that. That starts June the 6th, and you don't want to miss that. And we're just so thankful to be here with you. We're just hopefully we say something, do something, or something be a blessing to you along the way. Beautiful sunshine day, amen.
Yes.
And also don't forget, let's do our prayer request here this morning real quick. And I want to say, ask prayer for my wife, our little baby boy, baby Warren. Of course, my wife's mom and all of her family, my dad and mom, and all of my family. And still pray for Michael Witt's dad from a fall that he had a couple weeks back. Still trying to recover over that. And just continue on praying for his family. And we sure would appreciate that. So many folks needs prayer. Sister Patsy Parker and all of her family. Also Sister Susan Atkinson and Dorothy Williams and her little dog there, Izzy. We got folks listening to us all over the country right now. It's very amazing what God can do. It's amazing the doors of opportunity for us to be able to spread the good news. And it's not about what we do, but it's about what he does through us here today. So we ask you just to pray for the program, and something will be very helpful for you today. It's going to be a different kind of a program this morning, but it's going to be something that we need to hear. So just stay with us. And before we go any further, we ask Brother Mike, if he would, open us up in a word of prayer.
Yeah, just before I do that, Bobby, I do want to say, don't forget about C.T. Townsend, who will be in Johnson City on May the 5th at Buffalo Ridge Baptist Church with Pastor Jody Jenkins. So we don't want to forget about that. And then also he's going to be at Bell Meadows Baptist Church with Brother Dewey Williams from May the 26th all the way through the 31st. It's a week-long revival. You don't want to miss that. I think it's 7 p.m. each night. So you definitely don't want to miss that. If you're in the Bristol area, you got a whole week that you can at least pick one day that you can come and listen to him, which I'd say a lot of people may pick more than one day if they got an opportunity. So
That's right.
don't forget about that. And then something I want to add about my mom and dad, just everybody be praying that they have the Lord will open something up for them, a place to move to.
Yeah.
Because after all the final insurance adjustments and stuff from losing everything in their house fire right before Christmas, which most people already know, but they didn't end up with hardly any money at all to rebuild anything. So be praying where they're on fixed income or on Social Security. I mean, it's tough to start over at 70 years old. So anyways, just be praying for that.
Amen.
All right, let's go in a word of prayer.
Yes.
Our Heavenly Father, Lord, we just want to thank you so much for allowing us here this morning, God. We want to give you the glory, the honor, and the praise for every good thing that comes from us. And Lord, we just ask for the anointing of the Holy Spirit, Lord, so that we may say and do the things that you want us to say and do.
Yes.
We want to pass the word on that you give to us, not what we get from our flesh. God, I just ask that you help us to stay humbled and God, just allow you to operate in the way you want to operate and move across the airwaves, across the internet, all around the world, Lord. We know we got people from the Philippines and we got people from South Africa, Australia. We got them all over the world listening.
Yes.
And God, we just ask, Lord, that you would just use this program in a mighty way. Lord, we know there's so many people, Lord, that's got prayer requests this morning. And Lord, I ask that we just lift it all up to you and let you have your will and way with every situation. And God, most of all, I just want to give you the glory, Lord, for all the things that you have done, that you're doing, and that you're going to do that we can't even see yet. And Lord, I also want to lift Brother Michael Osborne up, Lord, and the things he's trying to do. And Lord, I just thank you for Brother Michael and Sister Sue, God, for having some good gospel bookstores, Lord. They're few and far between. But God, we thank you for placing the people in the right place at the right time. And be with Brother Michael and his wife as they set forth on this, that I really feel that you are placing the person in the right place at the right time.
That's right, yes.
God, we thank you so much for everything. Be with the radio program, and we just ask you to have your will and way. In Jesus' name, amen.
Right after we play the song here, we'll get right into the broadcast, and it is good to have Michael Osborne in the studio here with us this morning, and we appreciate the opportunity for us to come in your homes, your automobiles, your place of business, and I want to tell you, my friends, there's going to be people listening in today that's never listened to WIG, and I can promise you that. So thank you for being here with us this morning. Let's play the inspirations and get right into the program. This is WIGN.
There is something that's gonna happen, and the day is drawing near. It is time to get excited. Is that footsteps that I hear? Come on, Gabriel, blow your trumpet. All the dead in Christ shall rise. We are going to a meeting just beyond the eastern sky.
Is that footsteps that I hear? Heavenly portals seem so near. Heavenly lights are shining clear.
Is that footsteps that I hear? Are you ready for the rapture when we meet him drawing closer is that footsteps that I hear. Many a saint has fought the battle, run the race, and shed the tears. And it's time to get excited. Is that footsteps that I hear?
Is that
It's that footsteps that I hear. Heavenly portals seem so near.
Heavenly
Heavenly lights are shining clear. Is that footsteps that I hear?
Is that
It's that footsteps that I hear. Heavenly portals seem so near.
Heavenly lights are
shining clear. Is that footsteps that I hear?
Oh, yeah, is that the footsteps that we hear in this morning? Hey, man, we're glad to be here with you. And so we'll just jump right on in this thing. And we really are thrilled to have Mike Osborne in the studio here with us. Michael or Mike, whichever one you want to call him. And I guess we can call him Oz if we want to, right?
Yes.
But it's good to have him here. I've heard a lot about him and never have met Mike Osborne, but I've met his wife. And, of course, my wife has used to work for them, and I guess in Glade Springs area at the bookstore up there, and she talks highly about Mike and Sue Osborne. Good morning to you, Mike.
Good morning, good morning.
Hey, we got a mic problem.
Yep. Well, I'll hold us until till you get it. All right.
Hello.
Here we go.
Try that.
There you go. Yeah. Now, one of them will get you anyway.
Okay.
There you go.
Good morning, Bobby.
We'll get there.
How are we?
That's what live radio's about, eh, man?
Yes.
But we're glad to have you here this morning.
Great to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
And so we hear a lot of great things taking place, and we'll get to that here in just a little bit. But before we go any further into that, but how long is what brought y'all to this area?
As far as the Bristol area,
Yeah, I guess you say Bristol, whichever area you come to first.
well, my mom and dad brought me here to begin with.
Okay.
My dad's from Piney Flats.
Okay.
Born and raised Piney Flats. Moved to Pennsylvania when he was a teenager. Mm-hmm. Entered the Air Force.
Wow.
Stationed in London, England, where he met my mom. Mm-hmm. Had a brother born there. He moved back to Pennsylvania, where I was born. And at 1 year old, I moved to Benham's, the Benham's community on a farm. Mm-hmm. So this was 1958.
Okay.
So quite some time ago.
Right.
Then I moved to Florida, Nebraska, Missouri, and back to this area once again. I was eventually assistant pastor at Fellowship Chapel, where Lester McKinnon pastored for over 50 years. Godly man, dedicated to the Lord, just set such a great example, and I was honored to serve under him for 4 years.
Wow.
I met my wife in New York City, of all places.
Wow.
She's from Trinidad and Tobago. Basically, grew up in a tropical country in the wilds. But she moved to New York City as a teenager. I met her there, and so we moved back to New York City and did inner city ministry for 11 years in the Bronx. Yeah, I was assistant pastor at the Bronx Bible Church. I taught in a Christian school, got into real estate, and we moved back into this area. This was for the 6th time in my life I moved back to the Bristol area. It's a great place to live.
Right.
Truly is. And wanted to raise my children here. Sue and I have 3 children. They're all grown now, but they were all through elementary, middle school, high school.
Okay.
I attended high school at John Battle High School. All my kids graduated from John Battle High School.
Amen.
So the Lord, I felt like, brought us back to this area. Shortly after our return, we noticed a Bible bookstore in Chilhowie, Virginia, that was actually going out of business. Bob McCormick was the owner of that store, and they just couldn't make a go of it, and so they were they were selling everything out. I was teaching a first grade Sunday school class at the time, and I was looking at some of their knickknacks and asked them how much they would cost, and finally asked him, well, how much would the whole store cost?
Right.
And I ended up purchasing at the time, Southwest Christian Supply. Didn't know anything about running a business or owning a bookstore, but the Lord, I felt, was in it.
Right.
I knew it would be a good ministry, and so after 22 years now later, we are located in Glade Spring, Virginia. We changed the name to Our Father's House.
Right.
And it's been such a privilege to serve the communities of Smith County, Washington County, even Grayson County. They all come from miles around because, as you said, Christian bookstores are few and far between.
Right,
these days.
absolutely. And I remember the first time I come into the area. Of course, I'm not from here, and my folks retired to Glade Springs area, and I came in there, and that's been about 6 years ago. And I tell you what, the gospel bookstore, Our Father's House, is absolutely tremendous, folks. And if you've never been there, you're missing out on some great things. Bibles, y'all got everything in the bookstore. I mean, pretty much a Christian would want.
Yes, sir. We get many comments that the bookstore, when they enter, it's the best bookstore they've ever been into, and they come from miles around to shop with us.
Yes.
Your question concerning the Bristol area, we did about 5 or 6 years ago start to help out the Goforth. It was Bill and Juanita Goforth who owned and operated the Gospel Bookstore located on State Street. It's actually been in the Bristol area for over 40 years. Their health was failing, and so since we also owned a Bible bookstore, we became friends. We offered to assist them. We began to help in the management and running of the Christian bookstore. Mrs. Goforth passed away. Mr. Goforth's health was failing, and so their children allowed us to basically take over the management of the bookstore.
Okay.
And just a year and a half ago, we moved onto the Virginia side on Euclid Avenue into the old Golden Dragon Chinese restaurant. I eat there many times.
That's right.
They'd been around for quite some time, but the Lord, that was a miracle of the Lord. We thought we were going to have to close because they had sold the building, and we prayed, and God opened a door and gave us something that was just incredible, the location. And so we've been there a year and a half on Euclid Avenue. It's a wonderful ministry. If anybody asked me, should they go into the Bible bookstore business, I would probably advise them against it.
If they're for money.
If you're looking to make money, it's not a good,
That's right.
not a good trade on your time. But it is a ministry.
That's right.
And we're investing in the lives of people.
Amen.
Eternally laying up your treasures in heaven.
That makes it worth it.
Oh, I feel such a blessing to be able to minister to the people as they end. What other job can you openly share the gospel, pray with your customers, listen to Christian music all day long, read the scriptures?
It's a dream. Well, to be honest, it's a dream come true. If I could ever find one of, I don't know how many times that I've been over there, Mike and Sue.
My wife is.
I tell you, she's amazing.
She's incredible.
If you've never been to their Bristol location, I'm telling you, folks, his wife has such a heart for God. I mean, let me tell you,
anointing, amen.
You better believe she does. And I'll tell you, I don't know how many times I've walked in there, and she not know nothing about anything going on in my life.
Yeah.
And it's just like God lays it on her heart exactly what to do.
She's got some great discernment and insight.
She does.
And sometimes that's
I come out of there crying just about every time I go in there, you know.
That can be tricky when you live with someone with great discernment and insight.
You better act right. You better act right.
I think you all probably heard that all of the Lifeway stores, I believe there are 172 of the brick and mortar Lifeway stores are closing.
Wow.
Every one of them. So that tells you a little bit about the climate of a brick and mortar store. More and more people are downloading, e-books, Kindles, downloading their music, having it on their phone, and so it makes it more difficult. But there's still wide open area of ministry to people who are hurting, coming and looking, needing some direction, needing prayer, needing to hold something in their hand that they can look through and before they make that purchase.
That's right.
I believe with all my heart that God's got us where we need to be at this moment in time.
Now, of course, the rumor has it, a lot of folks have heard it, and I don't know when that's really going to take place, but the one in Glade Springs, you going to keep that open for how much longer, or how, are you just going to wait?
Good question, Bobby.
You just going to just wait till everything sells out, then close it?
Well, that's kind of in the Lord's hands.
Gotcha.
I appreciate you calling me a young man a little bit earlier, but I'll be 62 years old June of this year. So
Right.
I worked at the mall in 1975 before it even opened. So that
Wow.
tells you I've been around for quite some time. And so, Sue and I have been in two different locations for almost 5 years. She works the Bristol store, I work the Glade Springs store. So we really would like to see each other a little bit more.
Right.
We've got a lot of inventory in both locations. So our plans at this point, now God may change those, but our plans are to consolidate the two stores, move down to Euclid Avenue in Bristol. And the time frame is kind of up in the air. We do have our house now officially listed with a real estate agency. Had it listed for 1 day, and we got an offer in 1 day.
Wow.
So a lot of it will depend on when we sell the house.
Gotcha.
If they're in a hurry to move in, then we'll be in a hurry to move out.
That's the way it works, ain't it?
But, we're willing to stay. Right now we're open Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays at the Glade Springs store. We're
Okay.
open Monday through Saturday at the Bristol store.
Oh, okay.
So
Gotcha.
you could pray for us about that if you would. Just direction from the Lord, that His hand would clearly lead us. And a lot of it, again, would depend on whether or not the house and property are sold there in
Right,
Glade Springs.
absolutely.
Hate to leave. I
Right.
hate to leave. If it was up to me, I'd never leave that area because I love it.
But things that's fixing to take place and that, we're praying for as well, that we'll be getting into just shortly, it'd probably be if it's, that's going to be a lot to keep up with.
Yes, sir. I got a lot on my plate right now. I actually coach wrestling as well. I don't know if we can get into that a little bit, but I was fortunate enough to win a state championship at John Battle High School.
Wow.
Went on to wrestle in college, wrestled at Middle Tennessee State University, and then I wrestled at Liberty University. It was Liberty Baptist College back then, but I won a national championship in college. And it's just been a big part of my life. Currently, I coach wrestling at Rural Retreat High School, which is exit 60 up the interstate. So, I'm burning up the roads these days.
You're
but
keeping the oil business.
You're
keeping the oil. Yeah.
But I thoroughly enjoy it, and I feel if I didn't feel God was in it, I wouldn't do it.
Right.
But I strongly feel He gives me the strength. As thy day, so shall thy strength be. God
That's right.
has everlasting arms, and if He gives you a task to do, it may seem too big for you, but He'll empower you to do it.
Amen.
That's right.
Not too big for Him.
That's right.
That's what old David said, isn't
Yep,
it? The
that's
battle's not mine, the battle's the Lord's.
Amen.
right.
And
Amen.
speaking of the wrestling, I wrestled myself through middle school, high school. I wrestled for Virginia High.
Yes.
Coach Cressel.
Coach Cressel
was my
got
coach.
a brother that teaches at Virginia High School.
What's his? That's what
Ray
I was. Ray
Osborne.
Osborne. He was my middle school wrestling
Okay.
coach, so I
Yeah,
know Ray
wow,
very
some
well. And
connections.
I got to thinking about it just a few minutes ago, and then when you brought up wrestling, I said,
Yeah,
"Wait, I
a
bet."
lot of people
'Cause I-
recognize some similarities
Right?
between
Yeah,
us.
there. Cause just the build of your body, just your height and everything.
Yeah,
But yes,
we look a lot alike.
yeah, and I'll tell you, Ray was one of my favorite teachers, and I loved it. I love doing it.
Great
So,
sport.
Yes, it is, and it
No
teaches you a
excuses.
lot. That's
no
right.
excuses.
That's right.
You can't blame somebody else. You're
Nope.
out there one-on-one. So it's a great character builder.
Yes.
It's taught me an awful lot in my life, and I like sharing that with other young men. I
Right.
love to see them excel, and something good about fighting for what it is that you believe in. And
Right. It instills, wrestling instills that in you if you grow up wrestling. At least it did for me. It taught me to fight just like you said, for what I believe in.
Work
And,
hard.
yeah, you work hard for it, and the fruit will come from it.
Yes, exactly.
And as long as the Lord's in it, that's the key. You got to have the Lord first and
Unless
foremost.
the Lord builds the house,
That's right.
we labor in vain.
That's right. And that was something that it took me a while. It took me a while to figure it out, and what I really learned from it. But looking back on it now, I just see how God, all the way through my life, as far as I could remember back, how He kept placing things in my way to move me closer to
Push
Him.
through it sometimes.
Yes, and
You're at one of those places now in your life, aren't you?
Yes, I am going through some things. So, but I know God's going to lead us all. He's going to lead us all the way.
He's faithful.
He's never going to forsake us. He's always going to be there no matter what, even if we mess up. And I always tell people, because I'm human. I'm
far
no
from
better.
perfect.
Yes, I'm the least of the least. I can promise you that. And but I do know this. I know that He's going to help us get through it no matter what it is.
Amen.
That's right. That's
And
right.
Just like the situation we're getting ready to talk about. I mean, God's going to lead us through the right way. That's for sure.
Yes, He will.
It's good to have Mike Osborne in the studio here with us, and I'm not for sure how long that when we get in this other subject, why don't we kind of break away, play a song, come back, and jump right into that? You want to?
Yeah, we'll do that.
And I believe, because I'm sure there's a lot of information that you've got on.
There is. Can I add one more little story while
Go
we're
ahead.
talking about wrestling?
Yes, go ahead.
The Lord has really blessed me with good health even now. I had always dreamed of being a world champion wrestler. I felt like it was a dream God put in my heart. Won state championship, national championship. And so I had heard about this Veterans World Championship. Doesn't mean you had to have served in the armed forces.
Right.
Just means crazy old people that still wanting to wrestle. And so I actually, when I turned 60 years old, went to Bulgaria and wrestled in a world championship match. Now, it was a freestyle tournament, which was a different type of wrestling that you and I did. Greco-Roman and freestyle, both.
Yep.
It's what the rest of the world wrestles. We wrestle what we call folk style. I was just honored to be able to go. I ended up taking 5th place, but no regrets. That was something that God had put in my heart. I wanted to do it because I felt it was something that would bring honor to God. And so I went, had opportunities to witness.
Amen.
I think God gave me a roommate that really needed the Lord at that particular time, and was able to share the gospel with him and what God had. And that may have been that was the purpose and the reason. But I love the sport of wrestling. I think it's a tremendous sport, and I have learned an awful lot personally about life in general, and fighting for things that you feel are worth fighting for. And that may lead us into our next topic.
That's right. Amen. Good to have Mike Osborne in the studio here with us this morning on WIGN, and when we come back after this song, we're going to get into the something that you all need to know about, especially the folks here in the Tri-Cities area. It's something that's taking place, and I don't believe the Lord wants it to take place.
It's in the 5th district.
It's in the 5th district, by the way. So you want to be sure to stay with us here on WIGN, and we're going to play this song, and we'll come back with some more from Mike Osborne here on WIGN, being brought to us apart by Harold's Ditchwood Service in Avenue, Virginia.
God's people journeyed through a desert land. They followed on with Moses as they trusted in God's plan. With thunder in the pillar cloud that everyone could hear, they felt a calm assurance God was near. God is near. God is near. When the storms of life are raging and you walk through blinding tears, God is near. God is near. In the midst of broken pieces, when you faced your greatest fear, oh, there's comfort just in knowing God is near. Many days I felt I walked alone, searching for the answers that I needed on my own. And in my darkest moment, it became so crystal clear that in the times that I least felt it, God was near. God is near. God is near. When the storms of life are raging and you walk through blinding tears, God is near. God is near. In the midst of broken pieces, when you faced your greatest fear, oh, there's comfort just in knowing God is near. God is near the bed of sickness when the doctor walks away, and God is near the broken-hearted as they stand beside a grave, and God is near the lonely widow looking at an empty chair, and God is near the lost and hurting when it seems that no one cares. God is near the one that's suffering, living with a broken home, and God is near in times of weakness when they feel so all alone, and God is near those wayward children when it seems they've gone too far, and God is near that praying mother when the battle gets too hard. God is near the lonely soldier serving in a foreign land, and God is near the poor and needy simply reaching for a hand. God is near the one that's searching for some answers and relief, and God is near when friends have failed us and we're walking in defeat. God is near. God is near. When the storms of life are raging and you walk through blinding tears, God is near. God is near. In the midst of broken pieces, when you faced your greatest fear, oh, there's comfort just in knowing God is near. Oh, there's comfort just in knowing God is near.
That's the Leonard Fletcher family doing a fine job there. And aren't you glad to know that God is near more today than he was yesterday?
That's right. Amen.
Jesus is coming soon, very, very soon. Amen.
Amen.
We're
Maybe today.
That's right. Could be right this moment. I mean, we're not promised the next second of our life. And so hopefully you're prepared and ready. And if you're not, there's a place called hell these days.
Yes, sir.
And so we just want you to know that. But God don't want nobody to go to hell.
Not willing that any should perish.
That's right.
But that all should come to repentance.
That's right. Absolutely. Mike Osborne, better known as Vote for Oz.
My friends call me Oz. Always have. No relation to Ozzy Osbourne, but they still call me Oz. Yeah.
Right. Somebody called the other day and said, when's Oz coming on? I had to think about that a minute, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that's talking about, but we want to say thank you all so very, very much that has been calling. Mike Osborne's got some things that he's doing and wants to do, but it's going to take the community to make it possible.
Yes.
So what, I guess we'll just start out and let you start. And how did you get involved in
In politics?
In politics.
Okay, good question. My first involvement in anything political was as an assistant pastor to Lester McKinnon. This must have been back in 1981, 2, 3. I don't remember the exact date. It's a long time ago. But we were trying to fight. It was either liquor by the drink. I think it was liquor by the drink. It may have been package stores. So we stood at the polls. We passed out literature warning people of the dangers of allowing a proliferation of and availability of liquor, making it more available and easier.
Right.
We defeated the liquor by the drink referendum or the package store. I can't remember, but it was only a few months later that, lo and behold, they're selling liquor by the drink at the very establishments we were trying to prohibit.
Wow.
And you say, well, how could that happen? Well, they have a sneaky little way of doing things. In Richmond, they introduced legislation. Now, not our legislators, but someone else from another district would introduce legislation that would say, if you have an establishment, say east of 81 or south of 81, depending on how you look at it, between mile markers 7 and 5, you can sell liquor by the drink. And so they just overturned the will of the people. We voted it down, and yet, guess what? They have their ways of still forcing it through, whether you like it or not. You're gonna have this pressed on you. And so that was my first taste. We had a victory, but then I realized, man, they can basically do whatever they want.
Right.
And so it wasn't fair. And I heard about a referendum that was supposed to be coming to town, to Bristol, actually, potentially, that would allow a casino. A casino.
Oh, my.
And we're talking about legalizing gambling.
Right.
And that's the nucleus or the engine that drives this project that's coming up at the old Bristol Mall. Now, I worked at the Bristol Mall. It used to be probably we all shopped there.
Right.
Remember, I have some great and fond memories of the Bristol Mall. Kenny Shoe Stores, where I first started working. Worked at the Sears as well. But they're envisioning now a casino resort family entertainment complex.
Right.
I mean, there's a restaurant, hotel, motel. I mean, they've got big plans for this area. But there's a problem with bringing a casino to Bristol, and the problem is, it's illegal in Virginia right now. It has been for 240 years. Yeah, it's illegal. So guess what?
What's that?
You got enough money, you can make things happen here in the state of Virginia, probably any state.
Right.
And so after $1 million, at least $500,000 in cash contributed to political action committees, to particular candidates, and hiring lobbyists, sending employees there to lobby the politicians. Spent over $1 million so far to try to get this thing through. Lo and behold, guess what?
What's that?
Now they've introduced, actually my delegate introduced legislation that would legalize gambling and allow a casino to come to Bristol.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that got me a little bit stirred up.
Right.
I can back up to the year 2000. I told you my first delve into politics as a pastor. But when I moved to New York City, man, oh man, was that different.
I bet so.
You got a different way of thinking. And when I remember telling a coworker that I actually believed the Bible was the Word of God and that it was true, and he almost had a heart attack.
Wow.
I mean, literally, he said, what? I've never met anybody who believes the Bible is true. Now,
wow.
Obviously, that's a little different from our area. The way of thinking there was much different. It was liberal, if you want to talk about it in political terms.
Yeah.
Very liberal environment, liberal state, liberal city. So when I moved back to this area, I saw the mountains here. Tears just started streaming down my eyes. I just felt like, man, I'm back home.
Right.
This is where really living here in this area where people have a strong moral compass and values that are family values.
Right, absolutely.
But when I looked at the representation we had at the time in 2000, it was Rick Boucher. Now, I don't like to speak ill of anyone, but on his record, abortion record, he was 100% pro-abortion, which means every single vote that he cast was in favor of abortion or according to what the abortion lobby, NARAL, Planned Parenthood, he voted the way that they thought he should vote. And he got 0% on the right to life. So I got stirred up to the point that I actually, Bob, I didn't know if you knew this, this says Osborne for Congress. I ran for Congress back in 2000, became the Republican Party nominee for Congress, and ran against Rick Boucher. There's my kids. Dave is now 33 years old.
Wow.
So that's almost 20 years ago that I felt impressed and stirred enough, and I had to ask myself, what are you willing to do? Yeah, you can talk about, how bad everything is. You can complain about this and that, but what are you willing to do in order to make a difference?
Right, absolutely.
And so I started getting involved. I ran for the nomination, and I got it, Republican Party nomination. I lost, of course, but I've got no regrets whatsoever, because at least I went down fighting, and I tried to make a difference.
Right.
Well, that brings us to where we're at today. I've got some real issues with the casino coming to Bristol.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Some strong concerns that it's not a right fit for our area. And morally, you look at, let's say the Southern Baptist Convention. Let me grab this here. Southern Baptist Convention has a statement on the sin of gambling. This is a resolution. They're the largest denomination in the United States.
Right.
But it really doesn't matter what denomination you belong to. There's not a whole lot of things that every church that I know of can agree on.
Right.
I mean, they differ on so many different issues,
That's right.
social issues.
That's right.
This one issue, they're all on in the same page, in agreement. They say, whereas gambling violates the principle of neighborly love, necessitating the financial loss and harm of many for the gain of a few, enjoying entertainment at the expense of others, lists 10 scripture verses that backs this up. They go on to say it violates the principle of lordship, tempting individuals to trust chance rather than God. Gambling violates the principle of work, looking to gain something for nothing. It violates the principle of civil magistrate, causing governments to prey on their own citizens through state-sponsored gambling rather than protecting them and seeking their good. They go on, and then finally they say, we, the messengers of the Southern Baptist Convention, condemn gambling in all its forms, and further, we urge our leaders at all levels of government to end state-sponsored gambling, to curtail all forms of destructive gambling, and to address its harmful effects through policy and legislation. You look at the United Methodist Church, same statement. The Presbyterian Church, same statement. Church of Christ, same statement. Every one of them are opposed to this on moral grounds. Now, even if you thought it was a good idea financially, and that's what I don't think that a lot of people who are in favor of the casino are thinking that they're doing something wrong.
Right.
I believe they're sincere.
Right.
I believe the men who are proposing the casino, I truly believe they're sincere. Now, obviously, they're going to make a lot of money.
Right.
Casino
Make a big
owners
money.
actually are the ones that are guaranteed to make money in this operation. But they're also looking at the city. They're feeling that it's going to help to benefit the city, spur development, economic development. But I ask you, what are you willing to sacrifice for money? And this is really what it's all about. The love of money is the root of
all
evil.
all evil,
That's right.
multitude, many evils. And so we're willing to sell what for money here in our community, in our area. It seems as if the churches are the only ones that are standing up in opposition to this.
Yes.
no leader that I know of, no city leader, no state leader, has even
Thought about it.
they haven't voiced any
Right.
caution, not
None.
even a word of caution.
No.
I met with the city manager, who's also the city attorney, although he has no city management experience. He's in charge of the city, making this all-important, life-changing. I mean, it's going to change the character
That's right.
of a town.
Yes.
Right.
I think there's no question about that.
That's right.
You bring a project of this magnitude into our city, it's gonna change us forever.
That's right.
And so there should be at least some expressions of concern and caution. The city manager, when I asked him, don't you have any concerns about a casino coming to Bristol? No, none. None whatsoever. We just need to. That tells me he hasn't done his homework. I'm sorry.
Right.
You have not looked into what a casino can do and will do.
That's right.
The legislation itself, which was introduced by my opponent, actually calls for funding to be set aside to deal with problem gamblers,
Yes.
and pathological gamblers.
That's right.
Psychologists today and psychiatrists view gambling in almost exactly the same terms as drug addiction and alcohol
That's
addiction.
right.
Yep.
It's something they know they shouldn't do. They need to stop. It's hurting them. It's hurting their families. It's hurting their job, and yet they can't stop. They
That's right.
continue to do it until their life is in shambles, in ruin, until they've devastated themselves and the rest of their family. And now they have said, the casinos, that they're all going to allow these people to put themselves on a list to prohibit themselves from entering a casino. Now let me ask you this. When does an alcoholic or when does a drug addict actually come to terms with the problem that they've got and admit that they've got the problem to the point that they're willing to seek help? When do they do that? As soon as they take that first drink?
No.
No.
It's
When do they do it?
when they lose everything.
When they've lost everything, when they're at rock bottom, when
That's
when they have nowhere else to turn, that's finally when they're willing to reach out and say,
That's right.
help me. I have nowhere else to turn. I can't do this anymore. I've wrecked my marriage. I've wrecked my job. That's when they're going to actually turn for help, and then it's too late.
That's
Right.
it.
And I saw a documentary on YouTube the other night, Undercover. This is up in Canada. They put themselves on the self-exclusion list of a casino.
Wow.
Got their picture taken. They've got this sophisticated facial recognition software that's supposed to boom, pop up, recognize you, and they're supposed to come and stop you from gambling. He put himself on the list. He walks in, no disguise or anything, walks into the first casino, gambles away, no problem. Nobody stops him. Nobody says a thing. He said, well, maybe that's a mistake. He goes to the second casino owned by the same company. Boom, nothing.
Wow.
The third casino, the fourth casino. It's a gimmick. It's a public relations gimmick to say, oh, we care. We're going to do whatever we can to help these people. But they're admitting we are going to create problematic gamblers.
Right.
We're going to create pathological gamblers.
Right.
And these, because they make most of their money from these people.
Right.
And those people are going to have terrible consequences in their own personal life. Many will actually lead to suicide,
Right.
divorce, so the hidden social costs. Even if, and I've read the Chmura report, which is an independent report about how much money they feel this casino could bring to Bristol. But I've also read many other books. This is a book by Earl Grinalds, Gambling in America, Costs and Benefits. Now he is a professor at Baylor University of Economics, and he has studied extensively the hidden social costs of gambling. I've got that right here. Yeah, I'll leave this with you, Bobby.
Okay.
The hidden social costs of gambling, and he looks at 9 different topics, and puts a value, actually looks at the studies that have already put a value on these hidden social issues.
Yeah.
His conclusion is that if you bring a casino to town, you're going to end up spending $3 on hidden social costs
Right.
for every dollar that you take in.
Yep.
Now, I've had people challenge that. I'm not an economist. I don't know. But this guy is.
Right.
This guy is. And he's talked about crime, apprehension, increased police costs. You bring however many people, 5,000 additional people into Bristol on a daily basis, guess what? The crime rate's going to increase.
That's right.
Right.
I mean, these are people who like to live risky lifestyles.
lives.
They like, they're high rollers. They bring in a lot of money in oftentimes. But in other times, it's locals who are going to suffer the most.
Right.
The people who can't afford to lose money, who have the false hope that, you're
Yeah.
going to hit it rich. They find that the closer a person lives to a casino, the more likely that they're going to be devastated by the habit or the addiction of gambling.
Right. And just to kind of add something to what you just said, there is folks, what Israel actually put out to try to get the state to change
Yes.
the law.
There had to be a
minimum, at least, what was it, 4% unemployment. Like there was limits. I can't remember off the top of my head, and I had it pulled up earlier. But there's limits to these, and then the poverty's got to be. It's got to be so impoverished.
That's why they've chosen Bristol, because Bristol's in dire financial straits right now. And you know why they're in such bad problem? Not Bristol, Tennessee. Bristol, Virginia is in fiscally the worst shape of any other city in the entire state. And you know why that is?
Why is that?
Not doing homework.
I'll tell you.
in
Well,
my
yeah,
opinion.
not doing their homework. They've made some really, really bad decisions. The first big mistake they made was the landfill.
Yes.
There was a 400-foot deep hole that was an old rock quarry. Somebody said, you know what? Our landfill's about ready to expire. Why don't we buy this rock quarry with this 400-foot deep hole, and we can just dump our trash in the 400-foot hole?
Wow.
And then it's all,
They did no homework.
We're going to say, well, I'm sure that they did some homework, but you know what? People that want something, they're going to justify it
some way.
They're going to twist the numbers or make it look. They wanted this so badly, and they press forward with it. And the headlines read, if I could find that article, here it is. Here it is right here. Unanticipated costs. Ooh, hidden costs. Costs you didn't look at. Costs you didn't see.
Right.
You didn't foresee. You didn't do your homework. Lead Bristol landfill to a $32 million debt. That's just how much they owe right now. It says we spent over $80,000 on this landfill. $80 million.
Wow.
That's $80 million on the landfill. And because we got to buy liners, see, you dig that deep, you got water. That's below the water table. Water's settling down in there. It gets the trash, the pollution starts to taint the water supply. You got to put liners in this thing at the cost of $2 million every couple years. Then you've got they're not bringing in as much garbage. They just didn't think this through.
No.
They didn't think it through.
Right.
And you know what the current city leaders say?
What's that?
Oh, that was somebody else. That we weren't around then. That was
That's-
somebody else's bad mistake.
That's exactly what I was going to bring up, because there was somebody on Facebook when the thing about the casino first popped out.
Yeah.
And I said, look at the falls. The decision
that's
they
strike
made.
number 2.
Yeah. And they was like, well, we've got a whole different slew of people since
Oh yeah,
then.
new.
And I
Yeah,
said,
somebody different.
oh yeah, just like the last ones were new prior for the landfill, and they couldn't answer. I mean, they couldn't really say nothing because it's the truth. It's just this different people, but the same mind, the same concept.
Yeah, well, since you mentioned the falls, that's our second big problem in the city of Bristol, Virginia, is putting your eggs in one basket. Retail. They had a little success at Exit 7 some time ago, and so they figured, we can duplicate this. And so they bought another rock quarry. The problem with this one was the rock needed to be busted up.
It had to be blasted out.
So they ended up spending borrowed $50 million
Wow.
because they were already in debt on the. Now I may have my numbers just a little bit, but I know
But it's-
$50 million were borrowed to get Cabela's to come. They paid for the site preparation. They paid for the building and invited Cabela's to come in. So they're basically making no money on Cabela's for the extent. They figured that'd be the anchor store. Lowe's, which was located in Washington County, Virginia, at the Walmart site,
Right.
they lured Lowe's over, paid for their site, paid for their building, and now are paying for the next several years, I think it's $300,000 to Washington County because they stole
The
Lowe's.
business, right.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so they're in bad shape. It was a good idea, they thought, until they realized that just up the road a little ways, 7 miles or 5 miles, you've got the Pinnacle
Right.
being built.
And speaking of the Pinnacle, the man that actually built the Pinnacle,
Steve Johnson.
Steve Johnson, from my understanding, he was wanting to build on Exit 7 in that area.
In that area.
And then what happened there, I mean, I've heard a few different stories, but the thing is they've had opportunity from other people to help set the stage, to help get them back on track, and they just never wanted to accept that help.
Well, the mayor of Bristol complained and said they should have stopped us from doing the Falls project. The state's to blame. Where were the politicians that could have
Right.
stopped us? They should have stopped us from making this bad decision. So I ask you, after they're $100 million in debt, desperate, looking for anything that will somehow bring some money, they don't care what it is.
Right.
We're going to bring it to this town because we need the money badly. I asked you, where are the words of caution? Where are those who can speak with clarity and with reason to say there are going to be hidden social costs bringing a casino into Bristol? The social costs I was talking about in crime, incarceration, of course. We're already, the jail is built in Virginia to house, I think it's like 70-some inmates. They've got 120-some, plus we're shipped another 100 over to the county, the regional jail.
Wow.
We've got over 200 and some inmates. A lot of that's due to the drug problems that we've got. You don't think that's going to increase the drug problems if you bring a casino
That's right.
or 5,000 additional people with additional,
Right.
that are already prone to possibly having habits that they're struggling with. They go hand in hand oftentimes. Gambling, alcohol, drugs, prostitution. I mean, if you just look at the other cities who will bring or have brought gambling to casinos to their area, these things are going to increase.
Right.
And so we've got to beef up our police force.
Yep.
Business unemployment costs, lost job productivity. Somebody's in there killing time in a casino. Guess what? They're not out doing something else that's productive. They're not coaching a little league baseball team
right.
here in the community.
That's right.
They're not helping seniors with their difficulties. They're not on a job producing and bringing money in that can be a benefit to the community. Lost time and unemployment, it's going to happen. They've got the actual numbers. This Earl Grinnells has got numbers, statistics from these bankruptcy. People gamble away all their money and
Right.
then borrow money on credit cards. Then they borrow money from family, and then many of them will embezzle funds from their employers. Those are hidden costs. You don't think about that as being casino related. But if a person becomes a problem gambler, a pathological gambler, they are going to do whatever. It's like drug addicts. I saw it in the Bronx in New York. People, I can't tell you the number of times my car was broken into. That's how many times. I can't even number them. I can't count them on my fingers.
Wow.
It was almost expected you're going to get your car broken into. We had bars on our windows.
Oh, wow.
Of 3 little kids, I've got bars on all of my windows and doors, not to keep my kids in, but to keep people out. And that's because of the drug addiction that was running rampant in the South Bronx where we lived. We've got similar problems. You get addictions, you're going to have crime.
Right.
You are going to, because these people will spend more money than they've gotten. They're desperate to get additional funds, and so they're going to steal, they're going to rob. The crime rate in Bristol is already above the state average.
Right.
Wow.
It's higher than the state average. You bring that many people into this town, the crime rate's going to even increase even more, and those people aren't counted among the population of Bristol.
Right.
They're just visitors, but their crimes that they commit here on our streets are going to add to our crime statistics.
Right.
And so we're going to, my predictions are we're going to have double the crime rate of the state if we bring a casino to Bristol, and I think this is founded on research. I've got this book. Let me just finish this. Suicide.
Right.
How do you? He didn't even put a price tag on suicide, but I read many on my Facebook page. Vote for Oz. Vote and then the number 4 and Oz. I've got stories of people who actually have committed suicide as a result of their gambling addiction.
Wow.
Which leaves devastation to families. Who takes care of their children after that? Guess what? Those social costs are on the citizens of Bristol.
Right.
And here's my other thing, Bobby. If this thing goes to a referendum, which it's set to do, it's got to be approved one more time next year. And then the city of Bristol can approve a referendum to let the people vote on it. Now, my opponent says, I just want the people to be able to decide whether or not they want to have a casino. He's basically washed his hands of it, is what he wants you to think, that much like Pilate saying, well, I know really he's an innocent man, but, I'm just washing my hands. You do whatever you want to do. I dare say he would not allow a referendum on abortion, whether or not the people would vote, whether or not to perform late birth abortions there at the mall. You think that would be a choice he would want the people to make? No, because it's a moral issue. It's very clear. Abortion ends the life of an innocent human being.
Right.
And so it's morally wrong. And so you don't, a politician has the responsibility to stand up, have some backbone. When you know something's wrong, you warn the people about it, you advise them against it, and you say, this is not good for our city.
That's right.
This is what people should have done with the landfill. It's what people should have done with the Falls Project. Yep. It's what I plan on doing and am doing with this casino project.
That's right.
And that's what, folks, if you would just do your homework, get in behind Mike. If you go to his Facebook page, Vote for Oz, and is yours? I know there's 2. There's one that says FOR and one with the number 4.
The number 4.
Okay.
The FOR will hopefully redirect you to the number 4.
Okay.
Vote the number 4 Oz. It's actually Vote for Oz at Oz for Jobs.
Yes.
But if you just type in vote and the number 4 Oz, it should pop up
it
first
usually
thing.
does. And I want to say, you go on there and Mike has placed a lot of different posts on there that you can go. You can scroll down on that page. You can look at the impacts, which I'm sitting here right now. I've been looking where he was talking about the gambling addiction and so forth. But listen to this. The CSB staff, which is the Central, I had that pulled up here. It's the Central Service Boards. They are saying that they're going to need 24 people. This is just the initial. But they're saying they're going to need 24 people at $75,000 per position, which comes out to $1.875 million just in that staff. And then they got to have a central office staff, one person there, and I think that's kind of the leader. Altogether, it's 25 people. You got the 24, then one and then plus you got the treatment and the training programs. That's going to cost $1.1 million altogether. Just in this, there's a little over $3 million that's going to have to be.
Yeah, now those are state costs,
Right.
which
Right.
are covered under some of the taxes that they say they're going to be getting.
Right.
Let's talk about that right quick.
Okay.
This particular article talks about a casino coming to Bristol. We've got our two legislators, our senator and our delegate, introducing the legislation to make changes to the state law to allow a casino to come to Bristol. Now, a lot of people say, well, gambling's already legal in Virginia. You've got the lottery. Well, I think that was a mistake as well. Anytime the government
Right.
is benefiting from the loss of its people, yes, they say, well, it's voluntary. But again, I have a problem with the government sponsoring something that is doesn't produce anything. It's encouraging people to buy into a lie that you're going to get rich. If you continue to do this thing, you will eventually get rich, or there's this great chance, this hope that no, the chances are you're going to lose. The same as a casino, it's a rigged game. The house always wins. They've got it rigged
Right.
to the point that they will always win. The longer you play, the more you're going to lose. The odds are.
Right.
And so I remember when I was a kid, I went to Carnival one time, and they had this cork gun.
Yep.
And you pulled the trigger and shot this cork out, and you knocked things down, and you won the prizes if you knocked them down. Well, I went. I must have been in third grade maybe. The guy gave me the gun, and I aimed very carefully, and I shot. And guess what? That cork shot way off to the side over here. Missed everything. And I'm like, man, this thing's not shooting straight. So the next time I got it, I pulled the cork out and I licked it real good, and then I stuck it down in and made sure it was nice and straight. And so then when I shot, boom, straight ahead, knocked that thing down. Yes! And then I got it again and started telling other people, hey, you got to make sure the guy's sticking the cork in crooked. And so it was a rigged game. Eventually the guy said, get out of here, kid. Here, go on, get out of here. And chased me off. I didn't like that at that early age. I realized that when somebody's rigging the game, it's not fair. That just stirred my soul, and,
Right.
and I recognized at that age, the slot machines that they have these days, guess what? AARP has sent out a warning to its members that you got to beware of casinos because they're targeting elderly citizens. They're saying you got to be careful. They're trying to entice you to get in there because these slot machines, they know you can get hooked on, that you'll end up spending. It's not like you stick a coin in anymore.
No.
You insert a
Debit
credit
card,
card
yeah.
or debit card or whatever, and it's going to suck you dry because they're not these hard reels anymore. They're all virtual reels,
Right.
meaning they're digitized. They can make it look however they want to look,
Yep.
and you may think you're winning, but actually they've got it calibrated so
Yep.
that you are losing.
And
They're going to say you're a winner,
Yep.
you're a winner, you're a winner, but
You're-
you're really getting your bank account drained.
You're getting it drained. You're almost like in the same position as a fish is when you go fishing.
It's a lure.
They're gonna lure you in, and you're gonna win a little bit to keep you
Yep.
into that game. And you're like, oh man, if I can just hit one more thing, and you throw another spin on, and then all of a sudden it'll pop up. You win 20 free games.
Yeah.
You know, and you go through them 20 free games, and by the end of it, you're at about half of what you was prior to them 20 free games. But see, the reason why they give you them free games is so that they can take
To get
half
you
their
coming
money back.
Yeah.
And
People chase their losses, they lose,
Right.
and then when they win, they feel like I'm on a streak. I'm going to
Yeah.
keep spending that money, and then they end up losing all that money
Yeah.
again. It's a
And
vicious cycle. It's an
definitely
addiction.
is. It's very strong. And then I've heard these same people say, well, it's just a very, very select few people that gets addicted to it. And I'd have to disagree with that, because I believe there's a lot of folks addicted to gambling that just doesn't come out and say it.
Currently, yeah.
Actually, there's a lady that lives in Florida, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, she says we have had an increased amount of homeless people, drugs, and theft in our area since we got the casino. And you can go online and
Then
Look
I'll-
at
search.
Gamblers. Look
Yes.
at Gamblers Anonymous, GA.org, I believe it is. It's like an Alcohol Anonymous. They've got 17 daily meetings in Las Vegas of Gamblers Anonymous.
Wow.
You want to talk about, and they say, well, people are going to gamble anyway. A casino in Bristol's not going to increase their gambling, their addiction. And I say hogwash to that. I could have told you I was going to end up shopping. I could have gone to a Family Dollar any time in the past, but guess what? I stop and shop at Family Dollar more often now, and I could have told you, predicted that I would, because they built one down the street from me.
Yeah.
And so it's convenient, it's there, it's in my face, and so I stop in there probably 10 times more than I ever stopped into a Family Dollar before in my life. You put a casino right here in our hometown, those local residents are going to be the most likely to become the problem and abused gamblers. And you say it's a small percentage, from my reading, and I've got multiple books here, High Stakes, The Rising Cost of America's Gambling Addiction. And this guy admits he's a gambler. He was an investigative journalist. He lived in Las Vegas, Sam Skolnick, and he says, you got to read this, that it is more problematic than what the casino industry wants you to believe. He saw it firsthand in Las Vegas. So you read a Gamblers Anonymous, the testimonies. It's young, it's old, and even if it were a select 2, 3, 4%, how about if that's your son or your daughter who becomes addicted to gambling, or your grandmother or your son-in-law? How are you going to tell your kids that gambling is wrong, it's stupid, don't do it, when you're voting to bring it right into your own community?
Right.
Because you think you can make some money off of it.
Yep.
You tell me how you're going to justify that and tell them they can't do it. Oh, the high-paying jobs they're bringing, an average $46,000 per. You show me. I asked them when I met, and I've taken the time to meet with those folks who are introducing or pushing rather the casino, and I call it pushing because when you spend $1 million,
you're pushing it.
You're pushing.
You're
it.
shoving it down
You're
people's throat.
pushing it, like it or not, it's coming your way. But anyway, I met with them, nice folks, but I said, show me the numbers. Show me the numbers of who it is that's going to make what, because I lived in Missouri.
Right.
You show me the numbers, because what I imagine they're doing is they're putting the CEO and the president at multi-million-dollar payouts on the year, mixing that in with the rest of the salaries. Just to give you an idea,
raises the average.
That's
of
right.
course. Well, here's. I spoke with somebody yesterday. Oh, Evansville, Indiana. Yeah, they've got a casino. It's great. It's really helped. I pulled up some stats here. A surveillance operator going to make $13 an hour. Now, they have to. Why do you think they have to have a surveillance cameras all throughout a casino? Why would they have to have that?
Well, I mean, it could be anything from, in my opinion, you're talking about outside the
No, inside. You've ever seen inside a casino?
Yeah,
they're always
yeah.
watching the gaming tables, and they're watching.
Yeah, I think for one, you're probably going to get people that loses everything, and then what do they got to lose after that? Nothing. They could just go after whoever. And
Well, that's
I mean,
that's
if you want to look
potential.
at that, but
what else? What else do you think?
Theft.
Oh yeah, you got people carrying a lot of money. You're gonna have scammers. You're gonna have pickpockets. You're gonna have people stealing.
Right.
You're gonna have people cheating at the card games. Anytime you got money like that,
And scanning their credit cards through their pockets.
you're gonna
anything.
have all sorts of crooks and criminals drawn to a casino
Mm-hmm.
atmosphere because they know there's a lot of money there. There's a lot of people that are drinking there. Maybe not necessarily,
Right.
And that's another issue. How late is a casino open?
24
Yeah,
hours.
24
usually.
yeah, no clocks, no windows. They want to keep this person
Right.
here pulling that slot machine,
Right.
pulling that handle,
Yeah.
not knowing, losing track of time. I'm in the groove.
And they
I'm in the
usually
groove.
put a smell in the air to want them to free up and
There's
spend
lots
more
of
money.
There's
There's a
lots
lot of
different,
tricks.
tricks. But anyway, the surveillance $13 an hour. A part-time cage cashier. Yeah, $9 to $9.60 an hour.
Yeah.
That's a far cry from $46,000.
Oh, yeah.
A casino housekeeper. They're talking about, you get $10 an hour, and a security officer within the casino itself. Now that's the security trying to protect people from
Right.
Right.
assaults and people getting angry and taking it out on somebody else. $12 an hour.
And they don't even probably carry a gun.
It doesn't sound as if to me that these jobs are all great
Right.
high paying jobs.
Right.
And it doesn't say anything about benefits or anything like that. But these are hard, fast numbers. Let me see your numbers that you're proposing here for the casino. While we're on that, you know what the state percentage was supposed to be? They've withdrawn this from the table now.
Yeah, it was supposed to be in something like 15, was it 13?
Well, Mr. O'Quinn introduced 10%. He thought the casino should be taxed at a 10% rate. But this is the casino.org website. And if you just put casino.org and put O'Quinn in there, you'll pull up a couple of very interesting articles.
Yep.
But they say favorable regulations. This is the casino industry looking at this proposal and saying, man, the casino got away with, they got a great deal.
Yeah.
It looks like they may have even written this bill because O'Quinn's legislation presents tax rates and licensing fees that are rather low compared to other states that have recently liberalized gambling. HB 2536 would we'll pass that. Virginia casinos would be required to share 10% of the gross gambling revenue with the state. In Massachusetts,
It's 50, isn't it?
they're taxed at 25%. Pennsylvania casinos share 55% of their wins with the government. Maryland, it's more than 50%. And we're asking for 10%, but even at 10%, they rewrote it, they renegotiated 13 to 15%. Do you know how much Bristol is going to make of that 13 to 15%?
How much?
1.2%.
10% of what the state is getting, which is the 13 to 15%, goes to the locality. So Bristol's taking all the risk here. We're the ones going to bear the burden of the hidden social costs, which Earl Grinnell said is $3 you're going to spend on hidden social costs, and we're only going to get 10%. At the very least, if this thing is going to get pushed through against my objections, against my efforts, then we're going to renegotiate this to the point that what's fair? 50%. Other states are getting 50%. You've got a monopoly here in Virginia. This locality ought to be, at least if we're going to take those risks, we ought to. It's a bad deal to start with.
Right.
So if we're even going to do it, let's.
We got 11 minutes left here,
Okay.
brother Mike. There, I'd like for you to tell us exactly. I guess I don't know how to word this, but what do you want the folks to know? What you honestly, truly are trying to do to get their vote for you? Now, obviously, I can probably answer that question for
He's
you.
probably already.
Well, there's a
He already answered that, but
yeah.
I feel the only way to really defeat this thing is from the inside. You can pastors have done all they can to hoop and holler from the outside, but it appears that the politicians have clasped their hands over their ears. They don't want to hear it.
Right.
They don't want to hear it. So the freedoms we have in this country are the abilities to be able to elect our own leaders. Very rare in the history of the world have people ever been able to choose their own leaders. Most of the time it's been, they're a serf, they're a noble, and I have to, obey them. But we have a government of the people, by the people, for the people. We get to put people in positions of authority and power that write the laws that have our same values, that believe the way that we believe, and yet so many Christians divorce themselves from participation in the political process, and then they want to complain about, oh, woe is me, how the country's it's our fault for not being salt, for not being light, for not participating, for sending and they say, well, Christians ought to stay out of politics. Well, I'll tell you, I truly believe the Bible. That's my foundation for right and wrong. A lawmaker does what? He writes laws. Laws say, this is good, you should do it. That's bad, you better not do that, because if you do that, we're going to punish you for that. So you've got to have proper scales of right and wrong. You've got to know what's good. You've got to know what's bad instead of flipping things upside down. So I use the Bible as my basis. I truly and honestly believe that when I die, I may lie to you straight to your face and tell you something I know is a lie. And politicians these days are pretty much known for, not necessarily telling the truth all the time.
Oh, yeah.
But I believe if I were to do that, one day I'm going to stand and face the ultimate judge and give an account.
That's right.
I honestly believe that I have a God-given position if I were to be elected. Romans chapter 13 says that all authority is ordained or chosen of God, and that they have a sacred obligation to make sure they're rewarding good and punishing evil. And so I can assure you that I believe if I were to be elected, that I owe accountability to the people, but ultimately I owe it to God.
That's right.
I can't get over on God.
Right.
There is going to be a primary in June. I'm running as a Republican. On the Republican primary ticket. June the 11th is the primary date.
June the 11th.
Yes, sir.
All
so
right.
what I would ask for people to do, prayerfully consider whether or not they want to get involved in this. We can together make a difference.
Right.
And I believe if we can't stop the casino, at least we can be a voice of reason. We can be a voice of caution and present the other side of the story, that if you think that all that's going to be happening is good and peaches and cream and money pouring into the area, you need to take a look at the other side, which is the heartbreak, the loss, the devastation, the hidden social costs, which Earl Grenalls here enumerates. He's an economist from Baylor. He's studied it. He's worked out the equations. He says $3 you're going to spend. In the end, you're going to lose. You're not going to win. Does that answer your question there, Brother Bobby?
Yeah, and
Mike?
I got one more question, if you don't mind. I've got where could people go if they want to back you and your running, and maybe they feel like they need to donate some money or whatever?
I'll tell you what, Mike, I'm not. Go to Vote for Oz, vote the number 4 in Oz, but I've not solicited any funds. I've not asked any funds, and I almost feel like Gideon at this point.
Right.
Where if you've got too many troops, you've got too much money.
Right.
Then guess what? You're gonna say, we did this. We did this on. He told Gideon to do what?
He told him to
trim it down,
get
rid of some of them,
and they got down to 300.
Trim it down again, right? And then guess what? Who got all the credit?
God got all the glory,
because it was impossible, right?
Right.
I've got an opponent that's got nearly $100,000. I'm not real sure, but if you look at his top donors list, and I've got that listed, you'll see that you've got 1, 2, 3. 3 of the top donors here are the folks proposing the casino. I don't want to mention any names, But
you can go on there and
right
look
near the top, you can look, and then I can tell you there's another 3 or 4 that are associated with the same company that they also have contributed. Top donors. These are the people that are contributing the most, supporting his campaign, and these are the folks that are pushing the casino.
Right.
So big money. He's an incumbent. You see signs up everywhere.
Right. Yep.
If we were able to win this thing, it will definitely be a shout out to
God.
The power of God, the ability of the people to make a difference in this country.
That's right.
We can make a difference, but we've got to step up. We've got to get out June the 11th and vote. If
That's
you
it.
live in Virginia, Bristol, parts of Washington County, parts of Smith County, all of Grayson County, and Galax. That's how far the 5th District stretches.
Yes, it's very
That's a whole
large.
nother topic, and I can't get into that right now.
The big thing is, though, and I know we're almost out of time, but the big thing is, folks, the ones that's listening, if you want to be a part of it, this is what you need to do. Tell your neighbor to vote.
Yeah, get them out to vote. Get them registered to vote. Take
That's
them to
right.
the polls.
Amen.
Make sure that you get out June the 11th.
Yes.
And I really believe that at least we'll have a fighting chance.
Right.
That's right.
If we can get our folks out to vote.
That's right.
And that's
That's
what
right.
I would encourage.
Word of
you
mouth,
to do.
folks. That's
Amen.
the best. I mean, prayer
Don't
first
forget.
and foremost,
Prayer.
and then word of mouth. Tell folks that they need to get out and vote.
June the 11th, folks, is the big voting day, so do remember that. And Mike Osborne, thank you so much for coming in and being a part here this morning. And I hope something, the information that you shared with our listeners in the Tri-Cities area will help them. And so y'all be sure to vote for Oz. Look him up on Facebook there and go over. And I've got some text messages already coming through saying you got their vote.
Well, I appreciate
And
that.
so,
Got a few of them.
Anytime
but-
they want to, I've got my phone number. They can give me a call. They can reach me at Our Father's House or Gospel Bookstore.
That's
either
right.
one.
Amen. Amen.
That's
Thank you so
awesome.
much. And thank
Yes.
you all so very, very much for being tuned in here with us this morning. And thank you, Harold's Ditch Witch Service, for sponsoring here and on the broadcast. And be sure to give Brother Harold a call as well, 276-492-6407, and let him know that you heard about him right here on WIG. And thank you all so much. Until next Saturday morning, this is Brother Bobby, Brother Mike saying so long. Have a great rest of the day.
God bless you. We love you.